Welcome back to OptimusPhillip Review's Pride Month edition. Last time, we took a look at Titans Return Legends Rewind, and today we'll be taking a look at his partner, Titans Return Deluxe Chromedome. And while I'm at it, I might as well discuss the retro Headmasters version, since I think it'd be redundant to give him his own video. Like the G1 toy, Chromedome transforms into a retro-futuristic sports car. Looking at pictures, however, this version seems to be a much more streamlined take. The arms are now tucked away, and the rear is stretched out some to make for a more aerodynamic shape. The part that I really like are the wheels. They're beefed up quite a bit, and look like they could catch some serious traction. It helps that they're cast in translucent plastic, which reminds me of the Velocitronians from Cybertron. It gives me a nice bit of nostalgia. The color scheme is faithfully adapted too, primarily done in brown, tan on the rear and sides, with red on the roof. The hood deco of the original is updated, and even the headlight and grille stickers are fully molded. There's also some new details, like the Autobot symbol on the hood and the red stripes on the quarter panels. The only real problems I have are the fact that the rear section is unpainted and the random strip of brown on the side, though the latter is due to an unpaintable part, so I can accept it. Pivoting over to the retro Headmasters version, we start seeing differences right away. While the Titans Return Chromedome used a pale shade of tan more like the original toy, the retro version favors a richer tan more akin to his appearance in the Headmasters. The brown is a slightly different shade, but it's not nearly as drastic, and I don't think it's based on anything in particular. The red paint on the roof is now matte. I have no strong feelings about this change. Also, the unpaintable strip on the side is now cast in tan, which I think looks a bit better, though it does mean you lose the brown around the canopy. Aside from that, other changes are fairly minor. The headlights are a different color, the rims are now painted gold, and the red along the sides is gone. The hood is where most of the changes are at. The scoop is now painted red to match the robot chest, and the chevrons are simplified to better match the Headmaster's design. Also, the Autobot symbol is now just a white outline for some reason. In total, the vehicle doesn't change much from version to version. The figure comes with two guns, both cast in red. However, neither resemble the twin guns from the original toy. Instead, he comes with a Titan Master chair gun and a red version of the rifle that came with Titans Return Blur. Both have standard 5mm pegs, which allow them to mount on either fender, and the chair gun can mount on the roof via a pair of tabs. You can also mount the rifle on top of the chair gun in two configurations. There's a port on top of the chair gun's barrel that can accommodate the rifle's handle, allowing a Titan Master to man it, and there's also a hole behind the rifle's handle that can attach to the peg at the rear of the chair gun that makes a cleaner looking gun emplacement. And of course, you can open up the cockpit to remove the Titan Master Stylor. Technically, Stylor is a redeco of Hyperfire, the Titan Master that came with Blur. However, the mold was clearly designed with Stylor in mind, so I'm inclined to call this a pre-deco. His torso is cast in brown, with all extremities cast in red. This is better than some Titan Masters like Fire Drive, who was cast entirely in one color, but sadly the figure is still unpainted. Given that there's already multiple plastic colors in play, I'd be inclined to accept the lack of paint if it weren't for the lack of paint on the face. As it is, it's a bit of a bummer. This is where the retro Headmasters version really starts to shine, as that Stylor does have the proper orange face. It's still not completely G1 accurate, with the tan torso and red helmet instead of the proper gray, but taken on its own, it still looks good, and is definitely an improvement over the Titans Return version. He has standard Titan Master posability: ball-jointed neck, ball-jointed shoulders with limited outward range, and conjoined legs that bend forward at the hip and both ways at the knee. He also has ports on his feet to allow him to mount on Titan Master pegs, which are a very tight fit on my copy. Weirdly enough though, there are no pegs on Chromedome himself. In fact, there isn't even a slot in the cockpit for Stylor's heel peg, so he just floats freely in the driver's seat. He can, however, tab into the chair gun and ride on the roof that way, so you aren't completely without options. One thing I like about Chromedome is that you actually have to open his cockpit to transform him. While subtle, this does help to streamline the conversion process to a point where I wish more Headmasters did this. At this point, however, the conversion might start feeling familiar to owners of the Combiner Wars Dead End mold. While the two don't share any parts, they are built around the same transformation scheme. Arms pop out to the sides, shins open outwards to allow the legs to unfold, and the hood collapses down into a backpack. I personally don't have any experience with the Dead End mold, so I can't say for certain how repetitive this feels, but from what I've heard, it's pretty much the same, except of course the combiner peg is replaced with a Titan Master connector. So depending on your perspective, this is either a time-tested design that has proven effective, or it's a tired and overused design that you're probably sick of by now. Much like Rewind, Chromedome's robot mode is based heavily on his IDW appearance, specifically his appearance in the Shadow Play arc. The only major differences I see are sacrifices for the sake of the car mode, like the tan shins and all the vehicle kibble. Aside from that, it's mostly just slight variations in color, like the silver on the torso and the brown hands. I really like the look of this robot mode. It feels like a solid update to the G1 design. I could complain about the fact that the chest isn't actually the car hood, but this is one of the cases where I think faux parts improve the look of a figure. About the only complaint I have is that the arms look a little short. I would have liked it if they could extend out a bit, but this is probably a limitation of the original engineering. The IDW influence is most visible on this figure's head sculpt. Unlike the 1987 design, this Chromedome has a visor instead of separate eyes, and the face in general is much less boxy. I personally really like this head design. It's very expressive and looks really good next to Rewind. If you'd rather have a G1 style head, however, you could always go for the retro Headmasters version. That version uses the face sculpt from the Legends release, which was based on the design from the Headmasters. It looks a little odd on the IDW style body, but I think it works pretty well. I guess that brings me back to the differences between the two versions, which are far more prominent in this mode. Not only can we now see that all of the red plastic has been replaced with maroon, but we can see far more of the G1 influence. The hands and feet are now done in tan, the silver on his midsection is gone, and the shins are now painted brown. Even the paint on the chest is redone to make it look more like the hood chevrons. I like how they reinterpreted the sculpt, using the parts that were red on the Titans Return version for the silver parts. It gives them a bit of a different profile despite using a similar pattern. The tan thighs are a bit weird though. I'm guessing that those were on the same mold as the hands and biceps, which means they had to be cast in tan and couldn't be painted over. But that's just a guess. Personally, I think it looks alright, even if it isn't accurate. Funnily enough, this color layout actually makes him more accurate to the comic design too. Do with that information as you please. Articulation-wise, Chromedome's neck is on a ball joint with a nice range of motion that lets him emote wonderfully. His shoulders are on ball joints, and those ball joints are themselves hinged for transformation. Mushroom peg bicep swivels are here, as well as 90-degree elbows. Waist swivels for the transformation, hips are on ball joints, and the knees bend 90 degrees. No useful ankle joint, but the feet are sculpted for a more natural A stance. It's basically standard fare for the time, which means he isn't quite as posable as a War for Cybertron toy, but not by a whole lot. In robot mode, Chromedome can still hold both of his weapons separately, though the chair gun has to be flipped over and can't carry a Titan Master. They can also be combined together, but he can only hold it in one configuration. You can still use the side pegs on his shoulders to let a Titan Master sit in the chair gun, though, or to use the alternate configuration. I prefer to have him hold them separately, though. I just think it looks better that way. Titans Return Chromedome is an amazing figure. While the engineering is recycled from a previous mold, everything about him feels distinctly Chromedome. The car mode is familiar yet streamlined, and the robot mode is almost dead on to his IDW body. And of course, he looks right at home next to his devoted partner, Rewind. If you aren't sick of the Combiner Wars Dead End design yet, I would highly recommend getting this figure in some form. Whether I'd recommend the Titans Return or Retro Headmasters version is entirely down to your personal preference. Titans Return is great for fans of his IDW portrayal, while the Retro Headmaster is great for those who are more nostalgic for his original toy and cartoon appearances. Personally, however, I'm partial to the IDW version, especially if you plan on getting him and Rewind together. Because let's be honest, these two belong together. Happy Pride Month!
And I don't wanna wait till the sunshine fades, bury our love in a shallow grave. Cause the world could be cruel to us, or we could live for the dangerous. So let's start a riot. Hard to sit still when your head's on fire. Oh yeah, cause I'm a supernova, and you're my four-leaf clover.